The first time humans met aliens, we did what any reasonable species would do. We panicked, pointed guns at them, and then invited them in for coffee. The aliens, a delegation from the Galactic Confederacy of Advanced Species, or GSACE, which sounds like someone clearing phlegm from their throat, were understandably confused by this approach. They threatened us with primitive projectile weapons, then offered us a stimulant beverage containing poison, reported Ambassador Trelnox, a tentacled blob whose species communicated through color changes, and who had to wear a translation device that made him sound like he'd inhaled helium. The toxin they call caffeine would kill 17 of our member species instantly. The Galactic Council was horrified. This was worse than they'd imagined, and they'd imagined pretty bad things after intercepting our television broadcasts. Earth was immediately classified as a Class 3 Deathworld, a designation reserved for planets whose native species were so hardened by their hellish environments that they were considered dangerous to civilized galactic society. Captain Miguel Vasquez, the human representative at the classification hearing, found this hilarious. "You guys think Earth is tough? We consider it a paradise. We go camping for fun. We invented sports where we deliberately hit each other. We eat plants that fight back with capsaicin for pleasure." The seven-limbed tribunal chief turned a sickly shade of mauve. "And you're making first contact now?" asked Vasquez. "Why wait until we develop nuclear weapons and we're about to achieve interstellar travel? Why not contact us when we were less dangerous?" Tribunal advisor Chintara, a crystalline entity who pulsed with light when speaking, flickered anxiously. "We were hoping you'd wipe yourselves out. Most predator species do." "Well, we didn't," Vasquez grinned, showing teeth, an action that caused 3 delegates to evacuate their waste sacks. "Instead, we wrote poetry, composed symphonies, and created thousands of recipes for chicken. Oh, and we stockpiled enough weapons to glass our own planet several times over." The classification was amended to Class 3 plus Deathworld, approach with extreme caution. Humanity's reputation wasn't helped when Vasquez's assistant accidentally killed a Jovian diplomat by patting it on what turned out to be a respiratory organ. Or when the human delegation brought chocolate to a cultural exchange and sent half the representatives from Proxima Centauri into toxic shock. "We come in peace" became humanity's official slogan. No one in the galaxy believed us for a second. The Council debated quarantining Earth entirely, but 2 factors prevented this drastic measure. First, humans had already spotted their observation satellites and were becoming annoyingly curious. Second, and more importantly, we made really good entertainment. Our moving pictures had become the galaxy's guilty pleasure, especially our horror films, which most species watched as comedies. They willingly exposed themselves to scenarios designed to trigger fear responses, for enjoyment, wrote xenopsychologist Dr. Glenn in her best-selling analysis, Humans, What the Actual Jorks. The book was required reading at the Galactic Academy. So instead of isolation, we got probation, allowed into galactic society, but watched carefully. Like bringing a temperamental bull into a china shop, then being surprised when it starts eyeing the teacups. The diplomatic years for the next decade humanity played nice. We're good at that. Adapting, conforming, finding the path of least resistance while simultaneously planning 17 contingencies for when things go sideways. It's what we do. Commander Olivia Martinez, Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, became legendary for her diplomatic skills. Mostly because she managed to attend formal functions without accidentally killing anyone, which was the low bar we had to clear after the handshake incident with the methane-breathing Tarians. "The humans appear to be integrating well," reported Surveillance Officer Zeeb, whose job was specifically to monitor human activities. "They're unusually cooperative for a Deathworld species." What Zeeb failed to mention was that humans had already infiltrated 17 departments of the galactic bureaucracy. "Not maliciously, we just have a weird affinity for paperwork and procedures. Give a human a form to fill out, and we'll not only complete it, we'll develop a more efficient system by lunchtime. Do you realize," whispered Council member Plex to his colleague during a budget meeting, "that in just 8 standard cycles humans have become integral to our operations? The Waste Management Division is 40% human now." "No one else wanted those jobs," his colleague replied. "Who volunteers to handle garbage?" "Deathworlders." Plex shuddered. "They find biomatter decomposition interesting." Meanwhile, humanity's odd habits continued to baffle and terrify our galactic neighbors. The Melnarians were horrified to discover humans deliberately suspended consciousness for 8 hours daily. "DeWitt Trey, you practice temporary death every day." The Vrax couldn't comprehend why we consumed alcohol. "DeWitt Shiv, you willingly ingest neurotoxins for enjoyment." And the hive mind Zine collectively fainted when they learned about extreme sports. "DeWitt Trey, they jump off mountains attached only to fabric." Our most disturbing trait, however, was our inexplicable friendliness. Deathworld species were supposed to be aggressive and territorial, not adopting alien orphans and establishing interspecies cultural exchange programs. It's unnatural, Zeb told his superior. They invited a delegation of Arthanos larvae to something called a petting zoo and let their young handle them. Arthanos are venomous. Did any humans die? His superior asked. No, they wore protective gear and called it an educational experience. Their offspring were delighted. Even more concerning was humanity's rapid adaptation to galactic technology. Within years we'd reverse-engineered most basic systems and improved several. Our ships weren't the fastest or largest, but they had redundancies upon redundancies. Triple backup systems. Emergency protocols for emergencies during emergencies. Why do human vessels have so many escape pods? Asked a Centaurian engineer. Because we assume everything will eventually go wrong, explained Technical Officer Jackson. It's not pessimism, it's preparation. This philosophy extended to our diplomatic approaches. Humanity established cordial relations with virtually every species, even those traditionally hostile to each other. We became galactic mediators, known for our strange ability to see multiple perspectives simultaneously. What the Council failed to understand was that humans weren't playing nice because we had to, we were playing nice because we wanted to. Cooperation is our preferred approach. Violence is Plan B. Unfortunately for the galaxy, they were about to discover what Plan B looked like. No one expected the Draconids to be the ones who would finally push humanity over the edge. They weren't even one of the major powers, just a mid-tier territorial species with anger management issues and too many warships for their own good. Historically, they'd pick fights, get smacked down by the Council's peacekeeping forces, and retreat to sulk for a few decades. But this time, they chose the wrong target. Epsilon Colony, humanity's farthest outpost. It's of no strategic importance, Council Security Chief Fryn explained during the emergency session. Just a research facility with about 5,000 human inhabitants studying an unusual pulsar. Ambassador Martinez stood before the Council, her expression unnervingly calm. Those who knew humans well enough recognized this as a dangerous sign. 5,243 civilians, Martinez corrected, including 812 children. The Draconids fired without warning or provocation. Regrettable, droned High Counselor Glix, whose species communicated primarily through interpretive pheromones, making his translator sound perpetually bored. But the colony was in disputed space. Disputed. Martinez's eyebrow arched, a subtle human gesture that sent warning signals through the more perceptive council members. The territory was formally recognized by this council 3 years ago. We have the documentation that may have been processed incorrectly, Glix countered. Your records show exactly what we submitted, Martinez interrupted, pulling up holographic evidence. Time-stamped, verified, and acknowledged by your own systems. Systems that humans helped optimize, if you recall. A nervous murmur rippled through the chamber. Regardless, Glix continued, the Council's peacekeeping force is currently engaged with the Quarthy Rebellion. We cannot divert resources to this unfortunate skirmish. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Let me understand this clearly, Martinez said, her voice now dangerously soft. A member species of this confederacy has attacked a recognized human settlement, killing civilians, and your response is, nothing. We will issue the strongest possible diplomatic condemnation, offered Trade Minister Pilp helpfully. Martinez's laugh contained no humor whatsoever. A strongly worded letter. How effective. Perhaps humanity could negotiate directly with the Draconids, suggested mediator Zhen, whose species was known for neutrality to the point of uselessness. Oh, we intend to. Martinez smiled. Several council members involuntarily shifted away from her. But first, I am instructed to deliver this message from Earth Central Command. The Galactic Confederacy has 24 hours to fulfill its treaty obligations and intervene, or humanity will consider this an abdication of council authority, and respond accordingly. Is that a threat, Ambassador? Glix's pheromones turned acidic. No, Counselor. It's a courtesy notification. The Council, accustomed to extended deliberations and committees that studied whether to form other committees, failed to appreciate the human concept of deadlines. 24 hours came and went. The Draconids, emboldened by the Council's inaction, began systematically dismantling the remains of Epsilon Colony for resources. Their Supreme Commander released a statement calling humans soft-skinned pretenders playing at galactic politics, who lacked the spine to defend their territory. When shown the translation, Commander Jackson of Earth's Fifth Fleet simply nodded and said, noted. 72 hours after Martinez's ultimatum expired, all communication with the Draconid home system abruptly ceased. At first, the Council assumed it was a technical malfunction. It wasn't. The humans had been hiding things, a lot of things. First came the revelation that what the galaxy had been calling the Earth Defense Fleet was actually just their Coast Guard, literally the nautical equivalent of mall cops. The real military had been keeping a deliberately low profile, operating in stealth mode beyond Confederacy sensors. "I don't understand," sputtered Security Chief Vryn, as reports flooded in. "Our intelligence indicated humanity possessed approximately 200 warships of moderate capability." "That's what we wanted your intelligence to indicate," explained Martinez, who had not left the council chamber during the entire 72-hour period, calmly drinking something called espresso that made the air around her smell like delicious poison. The actual count was closer to 2,000 vessels, and not the boxy functional ships the galaxy was familiar with. These were sleek predators, optimized for one thing: overwhelming violence delivered with surgical precision. "But we've been monitoring your production facilities," protested Vryn. "You monitored the facilities we showed you," Martinez corrected. "Jupiter's moons have been manufacturing centers for decades, the asteroid belt too. Did you really think a species that evolved on a death world would advertise all its capabilities?" The council watched in stunned silence as classified footage was projected onto the chamber's main screen. It showed a single human vessel, smaller than a standard cruiser, engaging 3 Draconid warships. What happened next defied their understanding of physics. The human ship moved impossibly fast, firing weapons that the Confederacy's scientists had deemed theoretically possible but impractical to produce. Particle lances, gravity distortion torpedoes, point defense systems that tracked and destroyed incoming projectiles with 99.8% efficiency. It wasn't a battle, it was an extermination. "How?" whispered High Counselor Glix. "Did you think we spent our entire history just killing each other for fun?" Martinez asked. "We were preparing. Humans always prepare for the worst. It's what Deathworlders do." The council learned that humanity had maintained 2 parallel technological tracks, the one they shared with the galaxy, and the one they kept hidden. For every system they adopted from the Confederacy, they had secretly developed 3 alternatives, usually more efficient and invariably more lethal. "But your ships in the Confederate registry," began Vryn, "are exactly what the registry requires." Martinez nodded. "We follow rules, until following rules gets our children killed." More footage played, showing human vessels emerging from what appeared to be tears in space itself. "You have functional jump drives," gasped Minister Pilp. "That's forbidden technology." "No," Martinez corrected. "It's regulated technology that requires council approval, which we never sought because we didn't want to share it." "There's a difference." The Draconid home system had not gone silent because of communication failure. It had gone silent because a human battle group had arrived and systematically neutralized every military asset in the system: shipyards, defense platforms, communication arrays, and the entirety of their fleet. "The civilian populations are unharmed," Martinez noted. "Unlike the Draconids, we don't target non-combatants." "You've committed an act of war against a Confederate member without authorization." Glix's translator couldn't capture the panic in his pheromones. "No, we've responded to an act of war against us, after giving you ample opportunity to handle it through proper channels." Martinez's smile was like looking into an abyss. "Isn't that what Deathworlders are supposed to do, defend their territory?" As the council struggled to process this new reality, more reports arrived from across Confederate space. Human vessels had suddenly appeared near every major strategic installation, not attacking, simply present, watching, waiting. "What are your demands?" asked Mediator Zhen quietly. Martinez looked genuinely surprised. "Demands? We're not making demands, we're just ensuring everyone's clear on the new status quo." The Draconids learned about humanity's true nature the hard way, through a comprehensive military education delivered in under 6 hours. "It's not just their weapons," whispered Admiral Krez of the Centaurian Defense Force as he reviewed the battle footage. "It's their tactics. They're enjoying this." He wasn't wrong. Human commanders had approached the conflict with an enthusiasm that disturbed even the most battle-hardened Confederate species. Recordings captured from comm channels revealed human officers laughing during engagements, making jokes about bringing knives to gunfights in something called Pearl Harbor in space. Most unsettling was their efficiency. The humans had mapped every Draconid military asset before the operation began, prioritized targets based on threat assessment, and executed with what one observer called terrifying precision tempered with unnecessary creativity. Take Fleet Captain Reza Okafor's approach to the Draconid's supposedly impregnable orbital defense station. Rather than engaging in a costly frontal assault, her ships deployed what humans called a Trojan horse maneuver. "We sent in automated cargo vessels broadcasting Draconid identification codes," Okafor later explained to a horrified Confederate military liaison. They were filled with popcorn. Pop. Corn? The liaison asked. Maize kernels that expand rapidly when heated. We superheated them just as the vessels breached the station's cargo bays. Okafor smiled. Do you know what happens when a confined space suddenly fills with expanding organic matter? It's quite spectacular. The station had been disabled without a single human casualty. The Draconid survivors were evacuated before the structure was demolished. Similar stories emerged across the Draconid territories. A human special forces team infiltrated their central military command disguised as maintenance workers. Apparently humans could temporarily alter their skin pigmentation and features using something primitive called makeup. They spent 3 days inside the facility, mapping defense networks before triggering all emergency systems simultaneously and walking out during the evacuation. You could have simply destroyed their command center from orbit, pointed out Security Chief Vryn. Where's the fun in that? Replied the human commander, genuinely puzzled. The Draconid fleet, once considered among the most aggressive in the quadrant, never had a chance. Human vessels appeared from nowhere using their jump technology, disabled engines with targeted electromagnetic pulses, and left the ships drifting in space with life support intact, but weapons and communications offline. We could have vaporized them, explained Admiral Chen of Earth's Third Fleet, but that would be wasteful. Those ships will make excellent additions to our humanitarian relief fleet once we've refitted them. The Draconid Supreme Command, the very same who had mocked humans as soft-skinned pretenders, were captured while attempting to flee to neutral space. They were not executed or imprisoned. We sent them to Australia, Ambassador Martinez informed the Council. Australia? Is that a penal colony? It's where everything on our homeworld evolved specifically to kill you, she clarified. They'll be staying at a nice beach resort with minimal security. We're curious to see how long they last before the wildlife teaches them about respect. Within a week the Draconid war machine, built over centuries, had been dismantled. Their government sued for peace, agreeing to terms that included substantial reparations to the families of Epsilon Colony, and a complete demilitarization program. Was all this necessary? Asked mediator Zen during an emergency council session. This level of retribution seems excessive. Martinez's response chilled the chamber. This wasn't retribution, mediator. This was restraint. The galaxy adjusted to its new reality with remarkable speed, considering the circumstances. Species that had previously dismissed humans as quirky Deathworlders suddenly found tremendous value in human friendship. Trade proposals, cultural exchange programs, and military alliance offers flooded Earth's diplomatic channels. It's amazing how popular we've become, observed Ambassador Martinez during the Confederacy's annual assembly. 6 months ago, the Vracs wouldn't share the same atmospheric chamber with us. Now they're inviting us to their spawning ceremonies. The most profound change was in the Council itself. When humanity requested a permanent seat, previously denied due to our developmental immaturity, it was approved unanimously in record time. We recognize Earth's significant contribution to galactic security, droned High Counselor Glix, whose translator couldn't quite mask the fear in his pheromone signature. Humanity's unique perspective will be valuable. The Draconids, now thoroughly humbled, became unexpected advocates for human integration. Their new government, established under close human supervision, repeatedly praised Earth's merciful approach to justified retribution. The fact that their former Supreme Command was still posting terrified updates from Australia. Day 47, encountered creature called platypus, appears harmless but locals warn of venomous spurs. Everything here is venomous. Requesting extraction, served as a constant reminder of how much worse things could have been. What confused the galactic community most was humanity's apparent lack of interest in leveraging their new position. Despite possessing military superiority that could have established an Earth-centric empire, humans instead pushed for reforms to strengthen the Confederate peacekeeping forces. We don't want to police the galaxy, explained General Dawson at a security summit. We have our own problems to solve. Our homeworld's climate is a mess, we're still figuring out how to eliminate poverty, and half our population is addicted to something called reality television. But we will absolutely step in if the Council fails its duties again. Ambassador Martinez elaborated during a private meeting with Confederate leadership. Humanity doesn't want dominion. We want a functional neighborhood where we don't have to worry about existential threats every Tuesday. It's exhausting. When asked why humans had concealed their true capabilities for so long, Commander Jackson offered the most candid explanation. Would you have welcomed us if you'd known what we could do, or would you have tried to contain us? We played nice because we wanted to be friends, not because we had to. Slowly the galaxy came to understand that humanity's Deathworld origins had created not just physical resilience, but psychological complexity. Humans were simultaneously the most terrifying warriors and the most compassionate diplomats in Confederate space. They could design weapons that violated the laws of physics as understood by Confederate science, then use them with restraint that defied explanation. The mistake, wrote Dr. Glynn in her revised bestseller Humans, oh that's what the actual Golzorks is, was assuming that a species from a Class 3 Deathworld would be simple predators. In reality, Earth's harsh environment created beings of profound duality, capable of both unspeakable violence and remarkable kindness, often in the same moment. As the galactic year drew to a close, the Confederacy celebrated its 10,000th cycle with unprecedented unity. At the ceremonial center of Confederate Plaza stood a new monument, a simple plaque bearing words from humanity's history. Speak softly and carry a big stick. Beneath it in smaller lettering, we really hoped we wouldn't need the stick.